So after he died in September and in January, I got the dog. Because I want a big one that's good guard dog.
Sure.
Eat bark.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
I'm calling the meeting to order of Parks Recreation Commission, 6:30 p.m. on June 13th, 2018. May I have a roll call, starting with Kevin?
Fryer here.
Needham here.
Marmion present.
Boligoff here.
Boggs here.
Natalie here. And staff. Okay, thank you. Adoption of the agenda, deletions, additions, or changes.
I move that we adopt the agenda as printed.
May I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion pass. Approval of the minutes of May 15th, 2018.
I move that we accept the minutes as attached.
Okay,
I
May
second.
15th. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Citizens Communications. Come on forward. State your name, please.
Michelle Salmon, Brisbane resident. Thank you so much for all of the hard work that you do, and I really appreciate it. The thing that I'm here to talk about is our community day in the park. And first, I'd like to speak for myself and then also share thoughts from others. The last 2 years, the various community booths have been out on the street, on San Francisco Street. And I understand the need to try and shake it up and make it different, but I will tell you that it has not been a pleasant experience at all. And I am speaking for myself, but I also speak for my colleagues. Kevin, you came and heard the Open Space and Ecology Committee's thoughts and feelings on it as well when you came to talk with us about the signboard. And I was not the only one who was extremely unhappy with the layout. For us, and for me, I'll just talk about me. For me, it felt like I was at day next to the park, not at day in the park. I appreciated the new gate and the fence, but it was still a very isolating experience. You're out there on the hot pavement. People don't really want to come and talk to you for very long because they're standing in the sun. You're trying to edge your way further and further back into the shade as the sun moves overhead. It's not engaging. You're not in with your different colleagues. The way that we used to do it, where we had the squares, for instance, Mountain Watch, Semperton Mountain Watch would be in the same square with Open Space and Ecology Committee and Kriebel and the other sort of environmental groups. And we had, at that point, an opportunity to cover each other when someone wanted to take a break. And also you could retreat kind of to the center of the square if it just got too hot. We also had plenty of room to have children's activities, which Mountain Watch has always had, except for the last 2 years. We've had, get your picture taken as a Mission Blue butterfly. We've had button making, where the kids made buttons and free. Mountain Watch paid for that. We've had coloring. We've had a lot of different activities. And we had planned to have those activities 2 years ago when we were first pushed onto the street. And there was no room for it, nowhere to do that at all. And this past year, we didn't even plan that because we knew we were going to be on the street again. And it's just not amenable to having that kind of interaction. And so I really urge you to look at the layout and what the goals of the community day in the park are. If it's just, hey, let's have a party for the kids, bouncy houses, rides, whatever, well, then let us know, and we won't participate, or at least Mountain Watch, Well, last night we had our board meeting, and I had a hard time convincing our Mountain Watch board how important it is for us to participate in this and in the Star City Music Festival, of which last year we supplied 90% of the volunteers and worked the entire event and got $186 check from George Hawawini and $100 donation from Tony Bazzina, and that was it for Mountain Watches. It didn't even cover our expenses that we did. So the board was feeling a little bit like, but the city supports us in so many ways that we give back and we support the city's activities. And that's why we are going to do Day in the Park again, and we are going to participate again with the Star City Music Festival. But it's a hardship, and when you make it an unpleasant, uninvolved experience by pushing us out away from the center of activity and off the lawn and off where all the people are and off onto the hard, hot pavement, it's not a rewarding experience at all. It really isn't. And it makes it a really tough day and not one that I really want to do. And I've done it for, 12 or 15 years. I've only missed 1 year when I was out of the country. And so I do know what it's like to stand there all day long and be absolutely exhausted at the end of the day, but at least feel like you've talked to, maybe touched 20 people or like 100 kids when we made the buttons, and it felt like a community thing and like it was worthwhile to be there. The last 2 years, it was not worthwhile to be there. It really wasn't. And I'm speaking from my heart, and I am not the only one who feels this way. I'm sure you all think I'm, a whiny wuss for not wanting to stand on hot pavement for 7 hours and try and smile at people and tell them about our mission when they'd all rather be on the lawn having a good time. Just really, think long and hard about what are the goals for the community day in the park. Is it really to have a community event where you come together and share what the different things we're doing to benefit the community? Or is it just a bunch more bouncy houses and things like that? It's nothing against the bouncy house, but, think about what it is we're there for. And so I do appreciate that you're trying to think innovatively and do things differently and have, it be a very robust event. But also really think back to the core of why we have this event and what is it really about. So thank you. I've been meaning to come for quite a while to speak directly with you about this. And I was like, oh my God, tonight, I can go tonight. So thank you so much for hearing me and continue on in your good work. I really do appreciate all of the recreational opportunities that we have. I know it's challenging. I participate in many of them. I love the community pool. The work that's been done in Firth Canyon has just really, I hope the Park and Rec Commission feels the same way about the habitat days that we've been having. Bonnie, you should be particular. Have you walked up there? It's stunning. Right. It's stunning. And I'm very grateful to the city for their support to do the part that we couldn't do with volunteers. Costañas Canyon, it looks like a miracle happened there. I never thought I would see that canyon clear of ivy. So, I really appreciate the work that all of the citizens do in Brisbane to make this an amazing place. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, presentations, adult and youth sports activities.
Got a little slideshow going for.
Do we have it on our, oh yes, it's
Yeah,
right in front of
should be
us
on your
still.
screen.
Did you want a glass?
These are our Brisbane athletes. I'm going to go over all the different sports we play. We have 5 different sports, core sports. They are volleyball, football, basketball, baseball, and I guess track and field. Brisbane is different because they participate in leagues that have a bunch of different cities, except for San Bruno. The elementary school kids participate in San Bruno. Middle school kids participate in a NCRL league, which is the North County Recreation League. That league includes schools from Burlingame, Hillsborough, Pacifica, South San Francisco, Millbrae, and San Bruno. So they're in a pool with schools that have 500 or 600 kids. So whenever they play against these schools, it's the best of the best, and then it's our best of the best, right? Which is Brisbane. It's 30 kids. So this last year we had winning records with all the teams, which is exciting. Our volleyball went 10-2. Our football teams we have 7th and 8th grade team that went 10-2. Our 4th and 5th grade team went 9-1. Our 2nd and 3rd grade team, they're the little guys, so they don't really have a record, but they play for fun and they learn the game in San Bruno. Our other 4th and 5th grade team went undefeated in San Bruno, which was amazing. And then our 6th grade team went undefeated in the NCRL League, which was huge. We haven't had a 6th grade team since 2015, I think. And for us to show up with a 6th grade team and just show what we can do was amazing. And they're 6th graders, so they'll be playing for 7th and 8th grade. So it's amazing. We had 7th and 8th grade basketball teams. We had 2. One of the teams went to the semifinals. The second team won the NCRL championship this year. There's a picture of them with the medals. Our baseball teams, we had 2 teams, our Pinto and Bronco. The Pinto teams have playoffs, but everyone gets a trophy. Our Bronco team, the Pirates, won last year. They won the championship for South City Baseball. This year they were close. They lost to the best team in the league. They went to a 3-game series. The Cardinals won 1, Pirates won the other, and it went to the 3rd, and we lost by 2 runs. But we gave that Cardinals team their 1 loss for the year. A couple highlights. We have a new baseball field at Littman that was redone by the city. Dustin put a lot of work in it. The Lions Club donated some money for it. They were really awesome by doing that. Men's softball has begun. We started the league again. We got Mission Bluefield redone. The ladies from the Academy of Arts team, the softball team, they put money into it. We collaboratively fixed the field, and now we're back up and running. So next year, I'm anticipating 2 teams per grade, which is kind of big. I'm also trying to grow our baseball program by adding a t-ball team. We didn't have one the last 2 years because all of our younger kids grew up, but parents are having to have babies again, so we should be okay. And I want to have a track and field and cross-country team because I think we need one.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those in a long time. My
Yeah.
son Rocco, who's 28,
Yeah,
did that.
yeah,
He was in
NCRL
middle
is,
school. Yeah.
we're looking for more schools. And
What ages would the track and field?
it would be 7th and 8th grade, so middle school.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they would run in, I think it's Pacifica and Burlingame. They have trails.
Anyone have any questions?
Oh,
Great job.
Thank you.
great job.
We're always looking for coaches if you guys want to coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Old business, none. New business, replacement of childcare modular and enrollment policies attachment.
All right,
Staff, take it away.
will do. So as you know, there's kind of 2 parts to the childcare modular replacement process, and the first part being that we are going to be renting a temporary unit for the upcoming school year, which will be in place hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We've had our Public Works Department has hired a contractor. We've had PG&E out on the site to do site preparation work for anticipation of the delivery of the rental unit. So the intent is to have that in place and ready to go before the start of the school year, and things are moving along on that process. As far as phase 2, that is pertaining to replacement of the existing modular and the rental modular. So it will be a permanent replacement for the 2. And as we've informed the commission, and as you may be aware, the program is really at capacity with a wait list. And we opened enrollment in April for the fall, and within the first couple of days we were full. So our wait list continues to grow, and we anticipate it will still grow even further between now and the start of the school year. So that being said, city staff met with school district staff to discuss the permanent replacement modular. We presented 2 options to them. They're attachment A in your packet, and they're 2 different sizes, one larger than the other. School districts, we worked with the school district staff and discussed the potential implications of both of them. And then school district staff came back to the city to denote that their preference was for the smaller option. The smaller option is 1,800 square feet, and that would continue to limit the city's availability or the city's ability to enroll into the program.
Would it also limit us to, because I read in your notes that we were also looking to go toward possibly a licensed preschool? Would that also limit that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And we had that conversation with the school district as well.
Okay.
The larger unit, the 2,400 square foot unit, would allow us a restroom as well as a division of space. So if the city were interested in exploring down the line a licensed childcare facility for preschool and after school, it would lend itself to that. The smaller unit continues to restrict us and would probably prevent us from being licensed in the future. So that being said, we recognize that the smaller modular replacement will continue to present a challenge in restricting enrollment, and therefore we're faced with how do we as city want to approach our enrollment wait list, with the recognition being that this is probably going to be a perpetual problem year after year, given that we don't have the ability to expand. So at this point, and I'll make mention, and this is in your report as well, a couple of suggestions that we've heard from the school district one was to oversubscribe our registration, with the understanding that not all of the kids are there every day, which is true. On any given day, there's maybe 5 to 10% of kids that are enrolled that are not present, but from a staff perspective, that would be very concerning, because there would inevitably be the one day where
Right.
all of the kids came and we would be beyond our capacity.
Right.
And we're not an airline. We can't just turn people away and say, sorry, we don't have a seat for you today, and leave them to find their way home. And so for us, that doesn't really feel like an option. Another idea that was suggested by the school district was to explore the possibility of implementing a policy for the wait list around missed days. So if a child were enrolled for 5 days a week and they missed 10 days in 10 days, that they would be withdrawn from the program and placed on the back of the list, and that would create a seat for somebody else. So the recommendation from the school district was really to find strategic ways to work through the idea of having a wait list for the after school program. So at this point, what we're looking for the commission to do is to have the conversation around ways to best manage the wait list and enrollment practices going forward. Because even when we have the replacement modular come in, if it's 1,800 square feet, we will still be limited, and we'll still not be able to meet the demand of the community.
If I may, was there any discussion about possibly having a different location off-site?
Not in recent conversations. We had a facilities infrastructure subcommittee meeting with city council representatives, I believe last year sometime, and they discussed potential other locations off-site, and it was not their recommendation to proceed with researching that.
Because that's what we're still going to find difficulty, because if we do the one policy that the school district suggested, that if somebody doesn't show up, you drop them. Yeah. I mean, we go through that right now with kids that are truant to school. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't just,
right.
You can't come to school anymore because you haven't been here for 69 days.
Right.
I mean, that just doesn't
Through the chair.
work.
In your presentation, I'm just a little bit confused what I'm looking here on the last page, which shows 2 pictures of rental modulars. These are the temporary modulars that we're looking at?
So the yellow
Yes,
is the temporary
temporary.
modular that we will have in place for the coming school year.
And underneath it, it says permanent replacement option 1, permanent replacement option 2. So that's what you were talking about in the square footage.
The red line
The red line.
Is
and
the-
and the school was opting for the smaller square footage, but the smaller square footage does not have a restroom. Is that correct?
It would have a restroom, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But the challenge that presents is that you cannot count the bathroom as programmable space. So that is not included in the configuration for what we would be, what the building would be licensed for in terms of capacity. So currently, our existing modular is only, our capacity is posted at 49.
Right.
So we have 65 kids enrolled plus staff.
Right.
So the larger modular would give us additional space, but given the square footage that would have to be extracted for the restroom, that would drop our capacity down.
And the school district is advocating for the smaller replacement footprint because because of the basketball court. Is that their concern? I mean, what is their reasoning for this for the smaller?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask as well.
So my understanding from the school district is that there are a handful of days throughout the year that they utilize that upper yard during recess times or what have you, and they just don't feel like they want to extend the loss of that space.
What if we negotiated, somehow this has to be valuable to the school, right? During the day, it's not used. What if we say to them on rainy days, your physical educator can use that space, or give them an option so that they recognize that that's valuable to them? Because it seems like it's awful. I mean, the cost difference is so minimal between the two, and the cost advantage would seem to be in our favor if we can have more children, and we could possibly have a daycare then at some point. So somewhere the school there has to be an advantage for the school. And is there a way to?
So we do use it during the day, actually. That's where we run our preschool program. So our preschool program's in there until noon. It'll be noon next year, every day. But our preschool program also uses that yard space. So the school doesn't really use that yard space when we have our preschool there. And obviously they don't use it in the afternoon because we use it for our after-school program. So it's that very small window of lunchtime where, if the field is wet and muddy, then they don't have the kids down on the field, then they would bring them up to the upper yard. And they're not willing to lose that yard as open play space.
That's why at one time we talked about, and this was way before you entered this game, before you came on board, the front of the school, where that lawn is, put a facility there. And then we wouldn't be taking away from any playground structure areas.
Yeah.
But then they didn't want to do that either.
Yeah, I think the school district would be open to that, but from what I understand, from the city council's perspective, it's not an ideal option, just given the amount of infrastructure that would have to be put into place to have operating facility on that upper lawn. You'd have to bring electrical, you'd have to pour a foundation. Somebody said it was fill because they used to have housing there. There used to be a street with housing there, and so that it was so that it's fill land and it wouldn't be as structurally sound. The other challenge I will share with you now that I'm going through the process of having this rental modular delivered is it would be fairly nearly impossible to drive and deliver a modular up Glen Park and down that steep slope onto that front grassy lawn. It would be very costly for the city. They would probably have to rent a crane.
Or they'd helicopter it in.
It would be substantially more expensive than what we're looking at here.
What about paving that and turning that into a playground, that grass area, and let them use that?
That would be a conversation to be had with the school district. I don't know that. I mean, that's another cost for them too.
But maybe we could pay that as a compromise. We take that space, then we can offer to give them other space. Like maybe that's an option.
What would the enrollment increase look like with the 2,400 square feet?
So we could enroll 100 kids.
Through the chair, but if we did do the larger footprint, that leaves no outside space for the kids in the program. And I know when we did our site visit at the beginning of the last school year, that a lot of the activities took place outside of on good days. So if you use this larger footprint, then where do kids go outside?
Well,
Is there
there's
is there
still
a
the
trade-off?
lower-
Is there a trade-off there as
Yeah,
well?
and they would still have access to the lower yard and the playground. So
And the upper tiny,
and the upper
tiny tot.
the kinder yard.
Mm-hmm.
So they would still have plenty of outdoor play space from the after school perspective.
Noreen,
Yes.
what are the school hours, the hours? Is it 8
So
to 12?
They're preschool or
Yeah, preschool,
preschool is 9 to noon
9 to noon.
in this coming school year.
And then what happens to the rest of the half of the day from like 1 to
So we start our program at 2.
at 2?
Yeah.
Okay. But the age of 2 or 2?
Sorry, 2 p.m. for
Got
the
it.
after school program.
The after school.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
2 to 6 p.m.
Yes.
Okay.
So is it for us as a commission to comment on this larger versus smaller modular, or is that really something that those conversations are happening past our level? They're happening between the city and the school. So are we to try to make some comment on which way we think that's going to be, or is what you need from us really more about policy, tweaking the policy such that parents who just reserve a block for their kids but then don't really use it, we form a policy that you lose it or you use it or lose it. What are you seeking from us?
Yeah, I mean, the goal tonight would be to have the conversation about how best to manage the enrollment capacity issues and wait lists going forward. And if there's any recommendation that the commission wants to make about implementing policies to help manage that or alleviate some of that for parents, I think that would be the intent of tonight.
And do we get a sense that there is a strategy for some parents to just reserve a block and use it when they need it, but not? And is that something that we should consider making a policy that minimizes that, so that there aren't empty seats just being held while other
Yeah,
families could use that?
what we've tried to do the last couple of years with registration is to open the daily registration options so that people didn't have to register for 5 days a week if they didn't need care for 5 days a week, that they could register for Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or a Monday, Wednesday, if that's what their need was. And so the last couple of years, we created that option and made it available to families for registration. And 2 years ago, I don't think anybody, one family took advantage of that.
One family, we had a.
You're not on.
Sorry. We had a Monday, Wednesday, Friday option and a Tuesday, Thursday option. We had one family that took advantage of the Tuesday, Thursday, and one family that took advantage of the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so I think what happened was we were being too specific with our days. So this year we opened it up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can pick whichever days you want.
Right.
2 people.
Right.
Out of 80.
So
Well, out of
several-
82. Yeah,
So
out of 80.
78 families expressed the desire to have Monday through Friday care. And I think a lot of that is just because sometimes families don't know what they're doing 9 months from now or what activities their children are going to be enrolled in. And they recognize if they are from a household with working parents that they need that convenience, they need that level of flexibility as schedules change, and that they wanted to feel that they had that coverage if they needed it. So
Do you have anybody registered right now for the fall?
we're fully enrolled.
Yeah,
We have
and
80 with the
within
wait
one
list.
day, we were
Right.
enrolled with
That was
80.
a couple of months ago.
80? 80?
80.
Okay.
Is there a possibility of exploring like a online registration or something like that, where or not I won't use the word registration, maybe like online booking system, where I know it's silly, but whether it's a week ahead or 2 weeks ahead, that there is some sort of floater buffer that
So-
people can sign up for, and then if you don't use your seat that you've reserved, that maybe instead of increasing costs, because I don't know that, I won't comment on the increasing cost one, but perhaps that there is a penalty for not showing up, like a $5 penalty or something small enough that it's not a large value, but and I see Tricia nodding. And saying
That's going to be a lot of work for
Well,
staff.
that's
I don't know,
it's a
throwing
good
it out there.
it's a good point, and this has come up. Another parent actually suggests that when we were having these conversations regarding the club rec enrollment process, is whether or not there was a system that we could put in place where parents would opt in and elect their days, and then other parents could see if there were seats available. So part of the challenge with that is getting parents to commit to doing that.
Right.
And it would make sense to penalize people for days unused, but it would be very difficult to try and get all of that information from parents and have it be 100% accurate.
Do they pay regardless?
Yes,
So they pay for
they pay for the month.
the month.
Yes,
So then if they didn't show up all month, are they automatically re-enrolled for the next month?
yes,
Everybody that enrolled in April is enrolled for the entire school year.
Okay.
yes.
And to your point, it wasn't so much for me about that it's extra work. It's that I've been here long enough to know what happens out there.
totally.
And
That's
the
why-
extra $5, they don't care. And it's unfortunate that people aren't going to, like she said, people aren't really going to utilize it the way it should be utilized. And so it's almost spinning your wheels, kind of. And I mean, it would be nice if it would happen that way, but I don't see it. I mean, it's worth a shot. Anything is worth a try,
Yeah,
but
totally. I guess a question is, do you have the actual stats on what your no-show capacity is?
Yeah, so Stuart and I just talked about it the other day, and we think it's about like 8 to 10% per day.
8% a day. Okay. That's such a bummer.
But it changes and it
No, yeah.
fluctuates, and it's never consistently
Oh, of
the
course.
same kids, the same days.
But everybody pays, right?
Correct.
So
They pay
you don't-
regardless.
You don't miss out of the finances. What happens is really
Correct.
we're missing out on other people who might have
Correct.
been able, but they still would have had to pay, so we wouldn't make more money.
Correct.
It's just the
Right, I'm
space.
just wanting to make sure that,
Just
yeah.
the space.
It's
Right.
Right.
It's just addressing that there's this overwhelming need for the program and an inability to serve all of the people that need it.
and in all honesty, our program compared to any other city and any other place is so cheap. So they pay the month and they don't care if their kid goes twice in the month, it's still worth it.
What is it a month average?
It's the coming year, it's going to be 147 a month.
Wow,
And that's for every day if you want to go.
that's a bargain.
Yeah.
And I think part of the issue too is we're a little bit a victim of our own success. And Stuart said that is, we've really, we have new staff in there, and we have a great new leader there kind of overseeing the program. And it was been very successful the last school year. And so traditionally, where we wouldn't see very many third and fourth graders continuing on the next year, we're seeing more and more of the older kids continue to enroll for the upcoming year because they are engaged and they're having fun. And so whereas you would normally see this drop off of third and fourth graders, we're not having that this year. And so you have the influx of the new kindergartners, but you have the kids staying on longer than they have in years past. And so that's contributing a little bit to the over enrollment.
Well, maybe another possibility when it says the city to explore possibility of running a licensed child care program. Maybe that's something the old library might see, or the old teen center location.
So I've had 3 kids so far that's utilized the Park and Rec preschool slash, I guess it was kindergarten, Daly City, and their modulars are very small as well. I don't know if you guys met with other preschools about if they haven't had any issues with their enrollments, because I know with Daly Cities we were only given Monday and Wednesdays and Fridays versus Tuesday and Thursdays, and I just kept the kids in on Tuesday and Thursdays, leveraging that. And I noticed a lot of the parents there, the families there, were ones with working, but they had grandparents mostly picking them up, utilizing these Park and Rec preschool programs. So I don't know if you guys spoke with maybe Daly City or other schools within the district through Park
For
and Rec.
preschool or after school?
Yeah, for preschool and after school. So I won't.
With regards to like a maximum enrollment, I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, like for the waiting list for those.
So we don't have a wait list for preschool currently. The wait list concerns are more towards after school. Yeah. So, and a lot of other cities, well, there's a lot of school districts that operate their own after school program. A lot of school sites do their own program. They're not park and rec or run. Those that are, they often use school district classrooms, but we haven't historically had the opportunity to do that at BES. And we've had those conversations with the principal and with the superintendent and trying to identify space in the school. And from their perspective, which is understandable, is they don't want to impose upon the teachers' classrooms and have the teacher, set their classroom at the end of the day, assuming that would be ready in the morning, and then have them come in first thing in the morning and their classroom's not as they not in the condition that in which they left it. And so that's the concern from the school district's perspective. And so we've talked with staff about, are there any alternate spaces within the school that we can utilize? And there are times that we currently, will utilize the cafeteria for a few hours here and there as it's available. But even that is challenging. So.
Through the chair, you had mentioned a little bit back that statistically it's something like 8 to 10% on any given day. The enrollment is down by 8 or 10% versus the number of people who have signed up. Has it been looked at? Is that the same 8 to 10%, or is it really just scattered all throughout?
It's very scattered.
So it's really hard to think that putting a policy in that says, if you sign up for the whole thing, but your child only comes half time, we're going to give that slot to somebody else, because it really doesn't look like statistically that's how it's.
No, that's
That there's anybody who's really just saying, I'll put the money out and I'll use it
Right.
only if I need it.
Right.
That's not really happening. Is that what I understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel we're ready to make any type of policy.
Yeah.
I mean, as an educator, and I'm a phys ed teacher, so I'm used to being out on the yard and in the open spaces that we have. I feel like we should be advocating for the bigger space.
Mm-hmm.
And as a business person, I feel like we should advocate for the bigger spaces. If they're using it for less than 2 hours, even a day, and we know they're not using it every day, so if they're using it for once a week for 2 hours, how does that justify not allowing 20 more kids to have after-school care?
Yeah.
It just doesn't, I mean.
Yeah, and I will say that those are the same, those are the same comments that I've heard from city council members as well in the last couple of weeks, and the last week specifically. And so Stuart and myself are continuing to work with the school district and the superintendent and, really stress, these are the implications, and, are there other considerations that, we can explore. So that dialogue is still happening. We are still kind of holding out hope for the larger facility, but.
Have the parents that are seeking to have their children in this program actually reached out to the school district to also provide their point of view? Do you know?
Good answer.
We have not.
No.
Mm-mm.
I mean,
So that might be something that.
it might be a worthwhile conversation to
Okay.
start, because if really you're advocating on behalf of the parents that both leverage the program and for whom would want to leverage the program, and their children are the children that are at their schools, right? So
Yeah.
I think that might be a good thing to, so it's not just
Yeah.
staff, but it's
Okay.
also staff plus the folks who are going to benefit from it most.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, and to David's point, at the beginning of the last school year, of course, when we had this crisis about enrollment, we had a very, very vocal contingency of parents. Is it possible to circle back around and say, okay, here's where we're at, step back up, we need the school district needs to hear from you.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe
think
get
that
it
would
on
be
their agenda.
Hmm?
Maybe get it on their agenda for one of their board meetings.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
I like the bigger space.
I
Makes
do
sense.
too. I do too, but making a policy saying what people can waitlisting. I don't feel comfortable doing that.
May I ask a question about budget, which is there any budgetary considerations or both? Even clearly the larger one is more expensive. Is there any
Right.
issues with that are drawing the conversation one way? Okay, great. I was just asking for more information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thing happened.
Everything just all reset,
Oh, I'm back on.
just restarted.
Are you on?
Yeah, everything just popped
Testing.
over.
Test.
Hello?
Hello?
No, we don't
Oh,
have any
mics are
mics.
off. It's like the power just surged.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wind.
On now.
Testing,
Oh.
testing.
Yeah.
Back on?
We're back. Yes.
I thought I
You
heard
back
you
on in
click.
there?
It's kind of flashed.
Okay, well, are we done?
So- So what we can do is we can take those recommendations and kind of engage the parents in the conversation that have children in the program, and then we can bring this back to the commission.
I know Stuart was meeting monthly for a while with parents last fall. Did that?
It just kind of
dissipate?
tapered off.
off.
I think
But he certainly has the contacts of those people who were
Yes.
so.
yes, we do.
And that would be a good place to start, to
Yes.
get them to come out and advocate for more space.
Yes.
Basically, is what we're talking about.
Okay.
By when does that decision need to be made by to influence
So
construction?
So the second part of the second phase, we need to get a request for proposals out to bid on the project, and that will take some time, but we can't do that until we know what size facility we're going to be collecting bids on. So that's on hold until we have some more direction on from the city and the school district on where we're going to land in terms of the overall footprint of the facility, because that will be worked into the RFP. And the hope is to have that project done, have that project in motion to take place next summer and start of the following school year. But the timeline, I think, is getting fairly tight, and so that it may push the project into the following year.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're hopeful, but it just depends on what we get back from the various modular companies and what their capacity line looks like. So.
Okay, any other discussion? Well, we'll move on. Preparation of annual city council report.
So I put this on here because it was on our commission calendar for something that we do historically. We did it in July or August last year. I can't remember when you presented, Kevin.
I don't remember.
I feel like it was July or August.
Yeah.
So, what we identified as our process is that the commission would outline kind of the achievements from the past year, and that we would invite our city council liaisons to come to the next meeting, at which point the commission would present to the city council liaisons kind of the highlights and achievements from the past year, and then also talk with them about the work plan for the upcoming year. And then once that happened, then the chair for the Parks and Recreation Commission would go and present to the larger city council the annual report. Kevin did a fantastic job last year. And so I thought this would be a good time to start the dialogue to identify what the commission feels, the achievements from the last year, and also talk about our work plan going forward so that we can make those highlights to the city council. I did pull up what Kevin presented last year to just give you guys some frame of reference. Looking back, we noted significant events being the Brisbane Skate Park grand opening, the 30th annual day in the park, the Derby, new events including the underwater pumpkin patch and dive-in movies. Noteworthy initiatives included public art implementation guidelines, policies such as updates to the community park rental agreement, the facility naming policy, and commemorative benches. And then they just provided an update on programming, new classes, and what was happening in the way of programming for the department, and then future visioning with reference to budget and CIP review. And then the looking forward portion of the presentation included kind of the work plan and the overarching goals from the work plan, which were identified as maintaining high quality facilities, ensuring recreational opportunities for people of all ages, conducting the community needs assessment, trail improvements, innovation, teen services. So just looking towards the future, what the commission hoped to achieve pertaining to the various items on their work plan. And that was really it. And we did a little bit of a photo slideshow presentation, which we have again for this year. So that's already done. But I think this would be a good time to start to identify, okay, what are some major accomplishments from 2017 and the last year for the commission, and then what are the visionary pieces for the commission in the coming year, so that we can identify those and share them with City Council.
Okay, discussion. What did we do in 2017?
Well, one thing that came to mind is we started the yak.
Yes.
So that would be
Yeah.
Revitalize.
Yep.
revitalize the yak.
I'm just thinking of the Crocker Park. We did get awarded that grant, but was that in 2017 or 16? Because
That was last year.
okay, good.
Yep.
But we are still just waiting for that money
Yes.
to appear.
Yes. It's a
We
process.
got it, but
It's a process.
So that could be
It's
put both on
Yeah.
a list of accomplishments
Yes.
and also looking
for
forward.
the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
How
Great.
about the renovation of the dog park?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes, renovation of the dog park.
Yep.
Wait, wasn't that this year?
Yeah.
Are we talking 2018 or 2017?
Well, I would say in the last year since Kevin presented, so it would be up until now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 17.
Okay.
We you know
Like a fiscal year.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We got it in the works. It's just
Yeah.
it might not have gotten done until 2018. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to think about the upgrades to Mission Blue Center. Did that happen in this last year? That happened prior to that?
Most
The
of
new
them happened
refrigerator, the
prior
new
to.
stove, all that sort of stuff. That happened in the private
Mm-hmm.
year.
Yes.
Okay.
But the future, they're going to be. Did they approve that? They approved it. The city council, didn't they, for Mission Blue yet or not?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah.
In the Public Arts Advisory Committee formation, right?
Yes, it's formed, and in fact, I just got a notice of they're looking to put together the first meeting, possibly next week.
Well, just brought to mind what Michelle said about the habitation. You know, that we're co-working, Castaños Canyon.
Habitat restoration in
Yeah.
Castaños and Firth.
As far as looking forward, do we want to put something about the signboards on that?
We can.
Looking into digitizing.
Yeah, the
setting up-
joint committee
setting up a
committee
joint
with
committee to
open space.
examine the options, and also, in discussing of doing that in the future, the why of it, because I know that there is an ongoing conversation that we need to have with the community, including the city council, of the why we are looking at changing up what is a much-loved tradition, but environmentally not in keeping with the community's values. So not to make the whole pitch in that, but just to introduce that idea so that it's on people's radar screen, so it doesn't come as a shock when we cross that intersection.
Great.
I'd include our previous discussion around modular in terms of future stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
I think as part of the one of the subcommittee meetings, we'd also talked about kind of more pop-up events and things of that type
Okay.
is another feature as well.
And we enhanced the Festival of Lights.
List that both as an accomplishment. Yeah.
Yeah,
certainly accomplishment. That
yeah.
was great.
Okay.
And concerts in the park is still very popular.
But I think that's an achievement from last year is just the funding for concerts in the park.
That's right.
is
That happened
noteworthy.
this last year, the first year that we
Yeah.
nearly doubled
Yep.
funding for concerts in the park, which gave us a really much improved season last year, and
Yeah.
which we are looking at continuing for this year. And
Mm-hmm.
we also did, for the first time, we did a DJ night at Concerts in the Park. We had that as well, which I believe we are planning to do again this year. So that was a new addition to
Yep.
to that program.
Oh, and last year we brought well, it wasn't us. I was thinking of Star City,
Yeah.
but that's not really us.
You collaborated with them. It was definitely a collaboration with the parks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we as a department did.
Yeah.
So, and the worked with the Public Works Department for the Marina Kite Festival too.
Oh,
So-
okay.
That's a new event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we do anything with the seniors?
I don't think anything's changed.
We had the biggest senior show up ever this year at the Lions.
Yeah, really.
You guys put it up on Channel 27, so I mean,
Oh,
Okay.
well, that's a start.
Yeah. If you think of other
Okay.
things that we may be inadvertently forgetting, feel free. You can send me an email and I'll update the list, and then we'll bring this back to the next.
I'm just trying to think, did we do anything on trails? I remember I brought some stuff forward, but I don't know if anything materialized. But that trail coming up the back of the community park.
Oh, you mean the handrails?
Yeah, the handrails. But there's that trail that goes to Santa Clara.
Yeah. I don't know.
For future, you could add perhaps the volleyball courts.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
And for achievements, we just heard a great list of achievements for the youth sports, highlighting some of the fact that our kids basically went the season
the
winning.
baseball
Yeah.
field
Put
done.
that
Oh, Lippman
script
baseball
in.
field too. Yeah, great. Thank
Baseball-
you.
Yeah, that's right. The baseball field was
And we
redone.
just voted on the sign last night for the Lippman
the sign?
baseball field.
Oh, at the Lions Club?
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
Okay.
So our July meeting, I think we had tentatively put down that we would invite our city council liaisons to come and we would present our achievements and future vision to them at that meeting. So I can update this list and send it out to all of the commissioners, and then if you have updates, we can.
So we're going to make this presentation at our liaison meeting as opposed to the city council?
Well, the liaisons will come here
Yes,
to our next meeting.
yes.
And we will present it to them then. And then the commission chair will go to
Okay.
a city council meeting and present it to the
Okay.
larger city council. And I think that's what we did last year with Lori and Madison came, so. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Reports, chairperson. I have nothing to report. Subcommittees. Subcommittee meeting reports. First one will be the Teens Yak meeting, and I believe Natalie, you're going to report on that? For us?
So we had our meeting last Wednesday on June 6th, and there were 4, I forgot they call them leaders in, I believe they're leaders in training? I think? Yes, leaders in training. And there were a couple of items that we discussed. It was a very productive meeting. And that was my first meeting, actually. So they're very smart and they're very vocal. So they were just pleasant to work with. Just very impressive. So a couple of updates. So right now they're going through more of the leadership and training applications. They're going through that process right now. Also, the blog/website is in progress. Basically, they're thinking of ideas on certain topics. There was one leader or one teen leader that created a survey monkey that she sent out to the whole school about what they wanted to include, I believe, in their website or regarding the teen center. So interest on how many hours the teens would like to spend after school hours, activities within the center, and I can pass this out or pass it around. That was basically anonymous surveys that was sent out to the students. And then they basically are looking to have a goal for the teen center. They plan to have a yak social and bowling game in October. Brisbane's Got Talent, that was canceled as they only had 4 submissions. And the possible reasons were probably because of the graduation date last Friday. The next item we've also discussed was the Camp Out Night. I think that's what they called it. It's basically an overnight for all families in July, where basically they plan to have families have tents, movies, and then a breakfast the next day that will be provided. I'm not sure by which group. And that's basically would be the first annual family night camp out in the park. Another thing item is Project Give Back. They're looking to find certain projects for the community. We did mention about, I believe, the mural as one of the projects, but that they're still brainstorming about that. And then as far as the Leader in Training Rules and Handbook, they're working on that so far. That's in the works. And then they also plan to have a booth at the Day in the Park in October. Their next meeting, or their next YAC meeting, is planned for July 11th. And that's basically it.
They were a very enthusiastic group.
Yes.
And also on this survey, there were some comments that were put there, but it didn't get printed out.
Right.
So you can look at that.
And you guys really need to come back when they're all there, if you thought just those 4 were enthusiastic.
Oh.
Because it gets really exciting up there when they're all there.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah. Okay, recreational facilities, the on-site visit to the marina. Kevin?
Yeah, so we had an on-site visit to the marina to look at the, I guess it's called passive park space. And I know we've had a lot of discussions here. It's a little hard to really visualize what it is without going to see it. It's a fairly long stretch, narrow, rises up from the marina. There's a pathway along it. It's completely overgrown. And so we looked at it and kind of got a sense of what it is. And then what we thought was that before we go any further in terms of thinking of how that might be developed, that it would be good for us to get a sense of what other kinds of development is going in at Sierra Point. There is a new construction bit that's going on. My understanding is that had been dormant for, I don't know, a decade or something, but now they're finally going ahead with that, and not really understanding what all is on the horizon for Sierra Point. It seemed a little hard for us to visualize what kind of space we might suggest to the City Council that would be made into. So one of our suggestions was to have Mitch Bull come and talk to us about what's currently going on at Sierra Point and what the future of it is. And we also thought that perhaps after that, because it does come up right against the yacht club, that we might even want to reach out to the yacht club a little bit and say, hey, do you have any thoughts about what we might do with this space, be it passive or whatever? That's sort of the gist of what I got. Did you have anything you want to add to that?
Yes, so the rest of the commissioners, this part of property that we're talking about is when you drive into the marina and you get to the very end, you either go to the left to a parking lot or you go to the right and the yacht club's right there. It's the whole property that's right there. It's just a big weed patch. And that's what we're talking about. And then you look forward, and then there's the bay. And all the
And it's not a flat space.
No, it's kind of.
You know, we could foresee something where like benches are put in, and then there's an open forum performance space kind of thing. It sort of lent itself to that. But before we really started thinking, you know, carefully about those ideas, we thought it would be best to know what else is going in there and what's the timeline for development.
Went off again. No. Okay, thank you. The next one is Day in the Park, discuss upcoming event. David?
Sure. So we had that subcommittee meeting last night where we reviewed the event schedule and activities. There's going to be a few new activities added into the repertoire, in particular some of the family games added into that. We also reviewed the food options, in particular the 3 food trucks, alignment also of the Lions barbecue with the food trucks, and being able to leverage space created by having the food trucks closer to the condo building in order to create kind of a nice kind of eating area with shade where all of the food options are really close also to that, and where the Best PTO has their beer and wine garden, so kind of creating a nice space there. We also spent a great deal of time actually talking about the layout of the day in the park around having the inclusion of kind of the community groups into the kind of core area of the park itself. Councilmember Madison Davis joined to express both kind of some of the concerns that the community had, but also that of council as well. And so we aligned on a directional recommendation, which was to determine if there was a way to bring in the community groups into the park by actually drafting off of some of what we saw, I think, work at the tree lighting ceremony, where the booths were right off of the sidewalks, both kind of to the left and to the right of the gazebo. So staff was going to review how to leverage that space and potentially even reduce the footprint of some of the kind of non-bouncy house activities, and also have those community groups actually do some of the activities, and so that we can kind of replace one set of real estate with another set of real estate, ensuring that the community groups are in the park, but also having them actively participate in the activities themselves. The other recommendation that was provided was to eliminate the vendors, potentially in order to, again, reclaim some space and also concentrate the firefighters, police, and public works to kind of the top of the curve, if you will, of Old County Road, so that there's kind of very nice flow between where the ticket booth is and those community services, and then kind of again having the community groups inside the park. I believe that was principally what we discussed, but again, staff is going to review that recommendation and come back with a proposal to ensure that kind of it follows those guidelines.
So, what activities will you have if you get rid of bouncy houses?
Oh, no. To be clear, not getting rid of bouncy houses or anything like that. There's, I believe last year, if I recall correctly, I think there's 5 booths maybe that had like kind of the coin, not the coin toss, but the ring toss, and the thing that you hit to see where the frog would go. And there's a couple other like smaller
the carnival games.
The carnival
But-
games. There we go.
But you said bouncy houses, and Michelle said bouncy houses, so that's what I was
No, no, no.
confused.
To be, yeah, sorry, I may have misspoken. By moving maybe some of where the bouncy houses are currently placed, maybe over a little bit
Okay.
into the space where some of the carnival games were, and then by having the community groups in the park, perhaps see if we can give a set of those activities to the community groups to facilitate, in order to kind of have those activities still be available, but also satisfy, I think, a request of seeing if we can figure out a way to lay it.
But you still have some physical activities.
Oh yes.
I mean, like.
Oh yes.
Because we've had the
The
trampoline, the trampoline.
that-
Are you
that-
still having the trampoline?
Yes, ma'am. That would be there.
Okay.
In fact, I think some of the additional things that staff was looking into is also some activities that involved some water play and potentially a bouncy house that I think had some sort of water activity in
We
it
used
as
to have the
well.
water balls. We did the water balls.
So there's quite a few of things.
They
There's
were also
definitely
talking about the wine stomp, the grape stomp.
grape stomp. Yeah.
Oh, are you having music, or
Yes.
is there no music?
There's a music. There will definitely be music.
And is it in the gazebo then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you put these groups on the side of the gazebo, there's gonna be a problem with sound, because we had that before.
We actually
We had
discussed
that a
that.
lot, one year, and they all complained, because the groups used to be in the front.
Yes.
And the music came out, and they said it was too loud.
We discussed that last night, and the band is on from, I believe, 1:15 to 3 p.m. if my recollection serves me correctly, and so we've also requested the portable PA system. I think there's a desire to use that perhaps by the food and the beverage area,
Oh, okay.
to kind of create, just nice ambiance, but not necessarily have all the sound music projection coming from the gazebo the entire time, so as to make sure that hopefully that doesn't become an issue. There's also discussion of having perhaps a couple of the community groups that might not do well there, particularly I believe it was SPCA and 4-H potentially, on the area closer to the firefighters and police. But again, staff was going to just kind of make a recommendation on what groups signed up last year and where the placement might be best, taking into consideration all the kind of balancing act of noise, traffic on the lawn, and not having mud, and wanting to get kind of all the activities.
Now, is there gonna be, because I know last year we talked about shade and benches for
Mhm.
people to picnic.
Yes,
Are you doing that?
and that was
They're
part
going
of
to do tables with shade.
correct. Yes,
Canopies?
I believe that's
Okay.
the recommendation is that with some sort of shade, but having that placed really nicely amongst the food trucks and other food options and the wine and beer garden, so as to kind of create community, if you will, there.
Okay. Who's the band?
We
I don't
haven't
believe
Oh, you
Well,
haven't done that yet?
that's
Oh, okay,
selected yet.
okay.
Did I satisfactorily recap that, Natalie? Yeah, yeah.
You did good.
Yes.
Okay.
And the goal, the target about the layout is, to take a look at the layout so that, because it's mostly the Brisbane community that's going to the Day in the Park, so they're hoping for the layout to be more cohesive in a circle, so that everybody's unified, everybody's included. So that was basically what we talked about yesterday.
So are we going back to the kind of footprint, similar footprint that we had prior to 2 years ago? Is that what's
Not
happening? I'm having a
quite.
little bit of difficulty visualizing. We are no longer going to close off Old County Road.
I believe it will still be closed off, but just perhaps not the entire way down, or depending upon what the footprint is needed as determined by staff, like what it'll look like. I don't think is totally nailed down yet, but definitely I believe it'll still be closed. and we also are seeking not to have the booths in the middle of the lawn. So it's more kind of using the sidewalk, if you will, that's around the gazebo as kind of that line, if you will, of trying to have circle.
So the center of the lawn remains open space?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm just reminded that after last year, we did get a lot of positive feedback about the progress that we had made in changing up the day in the park. And as I went around, the positive feedback was 3-1, and now there's a change that seems to have happened quite suddenly, that seems to be driven by that 25% that were unhappy with it. And I wonder, people who are happy with something are oftentimes not as vocal. But I know we did get, in fact, we had some people come to this meeting in a rare event where they came specifically to say how much they liked it. So I just hope that this change, while I understand it is to accommodate some of the people who were not happy, I hope that's not at the expense of what was widely viewed as very successful last year.
We agree, and we're seeking to, I think, balance a compromise between what we understood to be a pretty strong sentiment from council, and also with balancing to your point, I think a really good sense of feedback on both the events themselves and the layout. So that's why we're making a recommendation to see if we can come up with something that kind of strikes the balance of both.
Okay.
So you said a strong sense from council?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Meaning that there was Councilwoman Davis expressed both concern, I think, from community that she had received, but also from the council members themselves.
Oh.
So we wanted to just, again, seek to strike a balance between what it was that I think the vocalization was there and how we could do it. And one of the ways that we went about that was really seeking to understand what was the kind of the problem we were trying to solve for. And what we understood really was that we really wanted to ensure that as this is a community day in the park, that the community groups were included within kind of that sight line, the engagement within the park itself. And so that's where the recommendation tried to kind of say, okay, if that's really what we're solving for, which I think is an appropriate thing, how do we bring that in? And that's where one of the, I think, more provocative things that we said was, well, if this isn't perhaps a good event for vendors, then perhaps by having that part not being something we're solving for, but really solving for the community groups, that we can come up with a layout that seeks to maximize their engagement while also, I think, maximizing some of the things that we had talked about also in terms of feedback of having the food together along with the beverage, which kind of go hand in hand, going along with the idea of having kind of picnic tables and shade by the food, so that, again, we kind of create community there while also ensuring that we have the open field space, because, again, we see a lot of the families and kids leverage that, and I'm sure we'll be using that for the family game. So,
But I don't want to lose the families from coming.
But I want to say,
no.
I appreciate what you guys are doing, because as a person who's participated through the community for 3 years now, the last 2 years have segregated us from the community. And and I feel like last year was really hard because we didn't even sell half of our food and didn't even feel like we were a part of the event. And so with that said, I truly do appreciate that you listened to that. And I don't know if it's possible to even consider putting vendors on the street around the outside, because then that would still utilize that space and keep people moving back and forth, but yet keep community and the community things together in the park. So I appreciate it, and thank you for that.
I just don't want to lose the families that'll come down, because that's the one thing. We had a lot of families last year where in the past it kind of, it was starting to fizzle.
Yeah.
That's,
and
and with the Derby being there too, you know, and then we lose some kids because of soccer games and all that. But I hope you don't lose a lot of the activities that those kids come and do.
Right.
I think, if anything, the number of activities that we've discussed has gone up between the things that we discussed, like Jedi training, some of which would be a hopefully really fun one. Actually having the community groups, instead of just participate passively, participate actively by one of the discussion topics that we had was actually coming up with a list of what activities we would like to see the community groups do, and actually help make sure that there's kind of consistency, so that there's difference in what they do. So again, to really create that engaging experience as well. So we've definitely are indexing.
Because those kids love that little carnival stuff.
Oh.
All that little, you know,
They
the little,
forgot the gifts
the little
last year. They didn't.
I remember one year we gave out fish. This was years ago. They had that little toss, the fish.
The coin toss. Oh
yeah.
no, those are
they
great.
loved that.
So that's where again staff is going to come up with trying to again kind of balance on the wave, if you will, in the surfboard analogy of all of the kind of competing things, and come up with a layout that hopefully brings together not only all the events that we're seeking to do with the community groups, and hopefully creates a nice flow for everyone.
Okay.
So
Great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay.
It was a good conversation. I appreciate the both feedback and seeking to understand more.
Yeah. Well, I just, I kind of thought when you were saying that, I kind of thought, well, you were kind of told you have to change everything. So I kind of got a little confused there.
Trying to balance it.
Okay. 2, setting subcommittee meetings. Okay.
Commissioners, have something I want to talk about.
Oh, well, I'm still setting subcommittee meetings. That's our next thing. I didn't get the commissioners yet.
Okay.
Do we want to just go down the list?
Okay, Brisbane Derby and Day in the Park, I think.
We had that meeting.
Well, you're gonna have to meet again.
Oh, yeah.
As-
One more time. We figured July.
Yes. Yeah. You guys got redirected. You gotta meet again.
Yeah, I think for that one, we were looking around a tentative date of July 11th for that one. I don't,
Yeah. Well,
but that's, yeah.
July 11th is our meeting.
That's our
That's our city.
commission.
Yeah,
meeting.
that's what we,
Yeah.
But you could meet prior to.
yeah.
Actually, that would be okay, because it's the 6:30 start. I was going back to, I think we did a special 5:30 start last time, but if it's a 6:30 start for this meeting, I could do a 5:30 start for that meeting, and we just time box it to an hour. Does that work? Okay.
Okay.
That work for you, Trish? 5:30? Okay. Concerts in the park. Do you guys need to meet again?
I don't think so. I think it's all set.
Set? Okay. Events. No?
Probably not right now. Maybe following the city council budget adoption.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Festival of Lights.
It's a little early for that.
Okay. Habitat Restoration Day.
That's set too.
Yeah, we already met and
Okay.
all those.
Public Art.
We're going to meet on that, aren't we, Kevin?
Well, that wouldn't be our subcommittee, but that will be the new, I'm spacing the name of it.
The advisory.
Advisory, which we will meet and we will report on.
Isn't that next Tuesday?
That's currently
Okay.
pending, yes.
Recreation Programs. Maybe after that modular gets in there.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recreational Facilities. Do we need to meet again, Kevin?
Well, we were going to try and set up a meeting with Mitch.
Oh, yes.
Do you want that to happen with the larger commission or at the subcommittee level?
That's a good question. I had originally conceived it at the larger commission level, but
Okay.
that's not. Is that necessary?
Well, let's do the larger.
Larger commission, yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, and then also, Open Space and Ecology has identified 2 people from their committee to be part of the joint subcommittee that will discuss signboards. So,
So we do need a meeting date
Yes.
for that then.
yes,
Oh, for the recreation.
facilities.
Okay.
And Lyle's not here at the moment. Do we want to pick some dates or?
Yeah, and then
dates
Tricia
anyway?
can talk to Lyle.
When's he back in town?
I'm not sure.
Where's the calendar? Well, let's do it before the next meeting.
With Open Space.
I can do anything before the 29th.
That's your cutoff point?
That's the week after next.
Yes.
Yeah, I could do something end of the day, any day that week, the week of the 25th.
Okay.
How about Monday, the 25th?
Can you do other days though, so I can
Yeah.
give him some?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
I can't do Tuesday. I can do Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
I could do any of those.
Okay, so Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, anytime after.
And if I know Lyle, we're probably looking at maybe definitely after 5:30, 5:30, 6 o'clock,
Yes.
something like that. You guys are okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Can you do anything next week? I don't think.
Yeah, I could do next week as well.
We'll
And
see
next
if-
week is actually wide open, and it arguably might be a little bit better.
Yeah,
for me.
I can do anything next week too. Just that,
Okay, so we'll
Those
get
are
the
all open.
availability for
Yeah.
the OSAC members.
yeah. Okay.
Right. Although it looks like we're pending a meeting on the 19th for the Arts Advisory
Mm-hmm.
Committee. So the 19th would be out. The 18th, the 20th, the 21st
Okay.
of next week.
Okay. Very good. Seniors,
No changes?
no changes. Teen Services, Yak.
That's,
Yeah, they're meeting again on the 11th.
Yeah.
So
11th of
I think July. they're meeting.
after everybody gets back.
That's
I
our
just don't-
commission meeting
Yeah,
anyway that
so-
night, so you guys can't go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they can just come and tell us what they're doing.
Come and give a report.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be nice.
yeah. Trails Development. We haven't met in a while.
No, and I'm on that.
We haven't walked the trails in a while, just to look at them.
I wouldn't mind walking the Crocker Trail,
Okay.
because that is on our radar screen for this next year. We will have eventually funding coming through to pave it. I think that would be a valuable thing to do, is to walk that.
Tricia and I have been walking Crocker Park Trail at lunchtime several days a week, so you're welcome to join us.
That would be great.
Okay. I don't know if I.
Thank you for that feedback, or for getting.
We've seen the overgrown area
Yes.
you are speaking.
There's multiple.
Did we want to do that on a lunchtime?
Well, now Lyle's on that as well,
yeah,
so do
I
you
don't
guys
know.
maybe?
Lyle works from home at times.
But we
though.
can try and get him.
Yeah.
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 When's your lunch? Because I'm doing that camp.
Oh, well,
We're flexible.
we take lunch whenever we.
Want to?
I could do it anytime, like
Whenever we
12:30 on.
And next week again would be good for me if we
Yeah. 12:30 on.
can arrange it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get back
Just
to you
look
on
at
that.
you. Okay. And We don't have anything for the use of 280 South Hill Cell.
No.
Yeah, what is going on with that?
Well, we had a meeting and there was some conversation about it, and I really put forward that we would like to work with Open Space and Ecology to apply some of those fundings towards reconditioning some of the elements, natural habitat elements along the Crocker Trail, and that's the last I heard of it. They had something on their agenda about trails at Firth Park. I believe there was something pending about how much that would cost, and that's the last I heard of it. And I should probably get back to Stuart and
Yeah, I can follow up with Stuart.
find out what's happening with
Sure.
that.
Okay, so that's it for the subcommittees. Okay, commissioners, there you go, Bonnie.
Okay. I have a complaint. They're not watering the park. At the First Park, it's all brown. There's no green. I don't know why they quit watering it. The gardener doesn't come, and there's no water going on it. So, like I say, it's all brown. There's no green. You visited it, it was green. Now
That
it's
was
brown.
green when we were out there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Now it's
I haven't
brown.
looked recently, and this would be the time that it needs water the most, given the warm weather, so,
It's brown.
okay.
All right, let me ask this, since there's a watering issue. Is the dog park getting watered?
No, Ted's doing it by hand.
What's going on?
Been doing it by hand, and we've never seen the sprinklers actually on. So I don't know if they truly do work.
Okay, can we check on that too?
Yes, I will follow up.
Because I know that grass, we just put that in, and I
He's
think,
been truly watering
yeah,
it by
I
hand
think
with a
this-
hose.
the city'd be irritated that they had to replace it.
Yes, I will follow up
Okay,
with Public Works.
Okay, thank you. Trying to think of anything else. I know Lippman Field's getting watered, and I know the community park's getting watered. Okay. Anybody else have anything? Any other commissioners? Okay, staff.
Hi. So I'm going to just give a little bit of information. Summer camp week 1 starts next week, and also swim lessons week 1 starts next week. Summer camp about half full. I think the first couple of weeks were our numbers are always a little lower. I think people get out of school and they go on trips and fun stuff like that. So, but we're about half full. I think we got about 30 kids in there, so it's not bad. And then swim. Jeff actually called me today, and there was a few, which is very odd because our Saturday classes always fill up really fast. Our Saturday swim lessons, and there was a couple he had to actually cancel them out because nobody signed up for certain times. I guess it was, but. So, yeah, so he's starting to look at that right now. But all that starts next week. So they've been in training all week, and we haven't seen much of them. Also, preschool summer program, there's 3 spots left. We opened 20 spots. So that's good. We have a lot of new kids from other cities coming in, Daly City, South City, that are going to take that use that class. It's going to be from 8:30 to 12:30, and it's I believe it's 3 days a week. The preschool summer camp. I think so. I brought it with me. I'm sorry. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, from 8 to 12:30. And because you brought up the concerts budget money that we made last year, it got me to think. Jeff just told me, I believe last week, I think we're somewhere around the $12,000 range right now. So not quite what we had last year, but more than what his goal was for this year. So it's not bad. And we still have a little time left, so we'll see what happens. So the summer camps, all the sports camps are doing okay. I think everything that we have online is going to go this year. I don't think we're going to have to cancel anything. The Challenge Island camps that we did for enrichment courses in the after-school program, we brought those back for summer camp, and those are off the charts. People are signing up for those like crazy. They really like that. They're a lot of fun. They're doing a slime one this year and wizardry, and so it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And then Shirley Lim, our youth art teacher, is doing a couple of sessions, and I think there's only one that we might cancel due to low enrollment, but the other three are doing well. So that's kind of where all of the summer camps are at. Starting next week, it's going to get crazy.
Right.
All right, I have a few. Oop,
I
go ahead.
have one question. The volleyball court.
Mhm.
What are you going to report on that?
It is on
okay.
the city council agenda for the 21st.
Okay.
Just other updates I have. We had our first memorial bench placed.
Oh,
Yay, finally. Came in with the mount inset, or the plaque inset, and we placed it at the top of the park behind the library and the community center, kind of underneath the redwood trees looking down at the rest of the park. So it is in place and
Oh, it's in the community park?
not in the community park, in the small little garden behind the library.
Okay,
Yep. So next time you're there for
I gotta look.
senior lunch, you can go up, walk up and look. But the family is
Can you
pleased.
say who is it?
It's dedicated to Roy and Effie Gogus Peters, was their name.
Oh,
And their family was the
Yeah.
first one to
that's lovely.
inquire with the city to purchase a commemorative bench. So it was nice to, after a lengthy process of adopting a policy,
Yeah.
pushing it through and ordering the bench and having it
Yeah.
custom made and finally have it in place was very exciting. So wanted to share that with each of you since you had a hand in the process. So.
Yeah.
Also wanted to share with you that we have an intern for the summer for 12 weeks. Her name is Brenda, and she's going to be sharing her time between our department and the police department. So it's a bit of a unique internship. She's a college student and looking into public health and social issues. And so she's going to be working with us as well as PD to identify at-risk populations in the community and support services that are needed for those individuals. She's going to take a look at our fee waiver program and kind of revamp that and formalize it. It's never really been a formal thing, and we just, as people approach us, as they have a need for discounted youth programs, we simply just discount it by 50%. We don't really have any qualifying criteria or any formal proposal or formal policy around it. And so she's going to do a comparison of other cities' scholarship and fee waiver policies, and that will probably be something that comes through to the commission as part of her internship. And then she'll also be working with the police department to establish a formal manual for policies and procedures for code enforcement. So it's a little bit of a unique internship for her, but we're excited to see what she comes up with and see how it impacts Parks and Recreation. So that will be coming in front of you at some point, hopefully. Something else that came up in meeting with the commission was the desire to participate in a countywide commissioners networking workshop type event. And so, as I mentioned before, I'm part of the San Mateo County Parks and Recreation Directors Group. And so we have decided we are going to conduct one of those later this year. It seemed like fall was best for everybody else's schedule before the holidays. So the tentative date for that is Saturday, October 20th. And I'll be sending out a formal save the date with more information, but we would encourage all of you to attend, and it would be an opportunity to meet and network with other park and rec commissioners from other cities and talk about best practices and challenges and just kind of go from there. So that's very exciting. We also had, as part of our Club Rec after school program, we had an art enrichment club that the kids, I think there was 10 kids, about 10 kids that painted watercolor and canvas. And so now their art is hanging in the showcase. They have a showcase in the gallery in the city hall conference room, and it's very sweet. So I encourage you to go take a look at it if you get the opportunity to
I
do so.
think it was funny that a couple of them valued it at $100. First graders,
Yes, they have.
they want $100 for their artwork.
Yes, and I've got
lot for them. That's a lot of money for them.
That is a lot of money
Yeah.
for a first grader.
Most are 10 and 20.
Yeah.
And when I saw the 200s, I go, oh, interesting.
Yes, it's very cute. I've gotten a few calls from parents asking how they can go about purchasing their children's artwork. So it's very sweet. Also, just an announcement, July is always Parks and Recreation Month nationwide, so we'll be doing some additional promotions for Park and Recreation Month in July, and probably have a proclamation from City Council as well. And just the upcoming Concerts in the Park starts later this month, June 29th, and we're still accepting donations and sponsorships. And then the save the date for the Marina Kite Festival on August 4th. And that's all I have.
I was just going to ask you something, and now it went out of my head. It went somewhere. Where'd it go? Think about it. Okay, commission matters, any written communications? Do you have anything? Okay, so, commission calendar.
So I
Next meeting on
probably
July
missed a
11th.
couple things along the way. I did have inviting city council into the liaisons in to listen to our annual report to them. And then you mentioned maybe the YAC coming down and reporting that, and I don't know how that will work out that evening, just because their meeting starts at 6 and it usually goes for at least an hour. So if we don't get it on that calendar, we'll get it on the next one, but we'll see what we can do about that.
And then we can also bring back an update regarding the childcare modular.
Right. And then the subcommittees, whoever meets.
And I should have an update on the volleyball courts as well.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. The date on October 20th, that Park and Rec workshop, where would it be?
In Belmont.
In Belmont. And do you know what time that would be?
I think they were intending to start around 10
Okay.
and have it end in the early afternoon, just a few hours.
I'm just putting it in my calendar.
Through the chair,
Yes.
we've just finished, or we're just going through a budget process. We have made some requests to City Council for funding for things. Would we get the report of how that turned out at the next meeting as well?
Yes, so I presented our budget to City Council on Saturday, and they chose to bring some of those items back to their next meeting. So they will make a formal adoption of the budget on the June 21st meeting, and then we'll have an answer on the asks. So I can bring that back.
Is there anything do they have any questions for us? I mean,
They did not at the time.
because I thought that was very self-explanatory, what we asked, what we presented. So did they have some concerns?
So what I provided to them was what we had presented to you guys, and we listed out the item that was being requested, for example, Firth Park, and then underneath that I had in parentheses what that entailed, being new benches and picnic tables and such, and same for the sunrise room and special events. I had included, maker workshops and more family-focused events, but a couple of council members did ask for additional information and descriptions regarding those items. So that will be part of the conversation that they have regarding the budget on the 21st. But
Descriptions
I am
like,
able to
I'm
provide-
just trying to think, well, for a new picnic bench, I mean, what, do they want a description of as a round to a rectangle? I'm just
I
trying
think
to
maybe
figure
just
out.
they might just be looking for some additional
Oh, okay.
context. For example, like the light board at Mission Blue that needs replacement. So it's $2,300 to replace that light board. But what wasn't provided as background information to them is the fact that the light board that we had up there previously was original to the building, and so it's
Oh,
just
okay.
expired. And the last couple of years, we've had to rent a light board, which costs $1,200 each time to rent it for the series. So looking long term, it just makes more sense. You know, it's more financially responsible to just purchase the light board and then have it for use. So I think they're just looking for some additional
Okay.
context.
Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, it looks like the meeting is adjourned at 8:09. Thank you, everybody.
Give you a